What's up, vape fam? Single coil RTAs. That's what we're going to take a look at tonight. Got a bunch of them. I don't know if we'll get to every single one, but maybe, just maybe we might. Somebody, when we did the Mesh Mania, requested this one right here, the Dead Rabbit M with a 3.5 millimeter single coil. And I decided instead, what if we did a 4 millimeter? It will definitely fit it. So this is actually a frame staple. I wrapped it myself, which is why it's not the greatest. But we're gonna go ahead, stick that in the Dead Rabbit M, see how well it does with a single coil. I have not really tried that too much yet. I did one 2.5 in it and it was so-so, but I think with a big coil, it'll actually do really good. Also gonna take a look at the Nitrous RTA. This is one of my favorite RTAs ever. And we're gonna take a look at the Blotto Mini. I think everybody knows what that one looks like. Then I also have a couple of other ones, the Eclipse, and then I also have the Profile M, which I have stuck a single coil in before, I think on a live build maybe. But if we get to it, we're going to stick a 2.5 millimeter ID coil in that one. The Profile M does amazing with a single coil. Hope everybody's doing good tonight. See what's going on. Mr. Free, what's up, brother? Cicero, how's it going? Joshua, what's up, buddy? The heck yeah, 4 and the Dead Rabbit M. Yeah. I stuck a 3.5 in there. Like, I didn't build it all the way up. I just set it down in there to see how it would look. And just being the mesh deck that it is, it almost still kind of looked small. So I was like, hell with it. I've got this frame staple done up. Let's just go ahead, wrap it, stick it in there, and we'll see how it goes. So I have no idea what the resistance on this is going to come out to. I'm assuming from the look of it and the number of wraps that probably going to require some voltage. So we'll vape it on the Galore 21 here. I think that should do nice. But yeah, that's what we're going to do tonight. Take a look at a bunch of different single coil. With the Eclipse, I know some people mentioned they thought RTAs on mechanical mods were weird. I don't know why. But the Eclipse, we're going to stick on the Trishul V2. Actually have not busted this mech out in a while. If you're unfamiliar with this, this comes from Hell Vape. And it has a unique magnetic switch. It's very clicky. Very clicky button, but I dig the magnetic switch on this. I wish more mechanical mods actually did their switches similar to this one. I only know of one, and it was a custom made. There was only like, I want to say 150 or 200 of them made by a guy in Indiana who owned a vape shop, and he got someone to manufacture his idea for a mechanical mod, and it had a magnetic switch identical to this almost. But those two are the only ones I've ever seen with this type of switch. All right, what am I vaping on tonight? I actually busted back out the Orange Dreamer. Mr. Palmer from Palmer's Powders coated this for me. I love this thing. Probably my favorite mech that I own. Got the Dead Rabbit 3 sitting on top and my whipped strawberry cheesecake. Paul, what's going on, brother? Also on the smorgasbord is another orange mech. It's the Chaos, and I've got the Kong sitting on top with the copper top cap and the 30mm beauty ring that comes with the Chaos. Love this setup, and I've been using it a lot. Now the Kong I'd used kind of here and there. I liked it, but I just never found a mech other than the Prey that I really liked it on. Well, with the copper top cap, I love it on this thing. I think it looks sick. And it vapes absolutely amazing. Got my butter cookie custard in this one. It's hard as hell. Hydrate for a moment. How's everybody doing? All right. Also have this Matterhorn. There will be a review up for this. Should be tomorrow. Love this thing. Got the Asgard 30mm on top, and I've got my Twix that I'm calling Twixiness recipe in here. It's not completely done. I want to do a few more tweaks to it and also give all the flavors a couple of days to work out some bugs here and there. And the orange shirt with mods. Well played. Thank you, sir. Thank you. One more orange mod, the Empire with the nitrous on top. Got my raspberry rampage in here. I actually modified that recipe a little bit. If you've taken a look at that recipe of mine before, go back and take a look at it again. I actually upped Shisha Strawberry a little bit and took Perillum's Raspberry completely out of there. Just really leaned into the candy side of it. And I think it's even better now. Twix, yeah, I'm trying. Twix is a hard one to nail. Just because that Twix kind of shortbread cookie is so unique. It's really hard to get that kind of dense shortbread cookie with the snap and then get the balance between that, the caramel, and the chocolate down just perfect. But it's pretty good. It's pretty close, I think. All right, so we'll go ahead and start with the Dead Rabbit M. Also in some of these, the Nitrous, and I need to pick another one. Probably the Blotto. We're actually going to stick these in there. These are Coil Clout Mech Aliens. The pair comes to 0.08, so if we split them up, should come out to about 0.16. And I think that will be really nice with both of those. I know some people, one person in the comments of one of the live streams that we did where we did single coils, did not like the fact that I used a 0.17 in a single coil RTA. Thought that was way too low, but I go low, man. Sorry. That cookie's a tough one to chase after. It is. To get the density is what's the hardest. I can get the flavor, especially now that SSA has that caramel biscuit. That kind of mixed with a couple other cookie flavors gets real close, but the density is just not quite there. I don't know really what to do to fix that. All right, let me set some of this off to the side if I can. There we go. All right, let's take a look at this Dead Rabbit M. There we go. Also, if you guys didn't know, if any of you all, I know some of you all are mixers, but if you didn't know, all the flavors just launched their V2 site. It's still got some bugs, but you can report those bugs pretty easily from the site or their Discord. But what they've done revamp wise is really nice. I really like it. To me, it only has a couple of weird caveats that I think will probably get patched up along the way. All right, so Dead Rabbit M, we've seen this before when we did the Mesh Mania. There's our deck. I already got it backed out some, but I think I'll need to back it out a little bit more for this one. And if you hadn't seen inside, so it is like top airflow because it's mesh, but it's somewhat to the side. And I think if we do the legs right, it will actually be more side on airflow. But we're sticking these coil legs in here like that. We're gonna have to twist this way because the air is coming that way towards the clamps. So we'll have to do a little finagling just to get the airflow right. Oh, you haven't tried all the flavors V2? It looks really nice. They're basically making it to where it's all about flavorings. It's not necessarily just e-liquid. That's still the primary focus. But if you wanted to do something with flavoring, say a beard oil or a candle or something along those lines, you can easily do that now through all the flavors. And the e-liquid stuff, they've added a bunch of kind of cool little things too here and there. I really dig what they've done. Just has a couple of bugs to work out is all. All right, I think I decided on 7. Hey, look at this. Doing it 7 or 7. I'm just gonna sit. Let's try 8. I'm gonna cut it to 8. And then we can always cut off more if we need to. We can't add more on. There we go. I think that'll work. We'll have to twist it around is the only issue. But not by too much. Not by too much. All right. I don't think it will touch in that chimney. It might. Actually, it very well could. I'm not going to know for sure until I clamp it down. I think we're going to have to cut a little bit more because I'm pretty sure it's going to touch that top. Cut it down to 7. Yeah, I think that'll work. Come on. It's awfully close to that spring, but I think it'll be all right. It is ceramic. There we go. That's a little better. I think this one's actually caught a little weird. Kind of getting pinched in the corner there. I kept feeling like that should screw down more. Yeah. All right. Try and straighten it up some. Like it's coming out to 0.2. All right. Oh, I've heard people. It's not going to affect the airflow to this thing. None of the airflow is going to get underneath of it anyway. And I've heard people say that too. And I've removed the ceramic plate and the profile unity to put a coil in it and the profile RTA. And it doesn't do anything. Any videos I've seen of people that don't remove it, it always comes out fine. And every time I've ever done it with the profile RTA, not removing the clamp, does just fine. Because none of that air is going to get underneath it anyway. Making sure we still had some clearance there. What I'm hoping now is that this cotton is thick enough. I think it should be. My luck, I'd forget to label bottles one night and end up vaping beard oil. Oh shit, I got hairy tongue. Yeah, I think that'll work. Let me let this cool down a little bit more. Came out to 0.36, which it's actually lower than I thought it would come out, if I'm honest. All right. I think right about there. Coil is definitely a little janky turning it like that, and it just wasn't wrapped the best, honestly, but I think it'll work. It'll at least give us a good idea of how well this will do with a large coil. I think it should wick pretty darn good, considering wick this up with a 6mm cotton strip in it before, and even thicker Although I did kind of cut the wick a weird little way, but it was still pretty damn thick. All right, for this one, what to use liquid wise. Actually, I think I'm gonna go with my multichrome, which is cloudberries and cream. Hoping this janked up coil doesn't do too awful. I think it'll be fine. All right. Go ahead and put our top cap on, and then we'll see whether or not it's going to touch or not. Yep. It touches. 4 might be too much for this, guys. I don't think I can lower it anymore. I think it may just be too high. Any lower and I'm gonna hit that plate. Yep. Just gonna short circuit on us. So that's a bust. That sucks because it seems like it's doing pretty good there. But any lower, and I would have to definitely take that plate out. Guess we could look at it. Actually, let's just move on to the next one. I just dropped the clamp. Give me a second. Here we go. All right. Yeah, because I don't really feel like fiddling with this thing all night. And that really sucks. Really sucks. Just a second. I'm trying to put my clamp back together. I'll let you guys pick what we're going to move on to. We can do the Nitrous, the Blotto Mini, the Eclipse, or the Profile. Now with the Profile, we won't have any issues because I'm not trying to see how fat a coil I can stick in it. We're just going to stick probably a 2.5 in there. Get this thing all back together again. It really sucks that 4 is too big. I honestly have a feeling that even 3.5 might be too big to do here. We would end up having, I think we'd still end up having the coil touch. We could, if you guys just want to see how it does, we could stick a 3mm in here. I think it would work all right. My vote's the Nitrous. Curious about it having the RTA. Oh, if it beats it out. All right, we can move on to the Nitrous. We might come back later and stick a 3mm in the dead rabbit. David, what's going on, brother? All right. Here's the Nitrous RTA. I really dig this thing. This actually has the extension piece and the bubble glass, the extension bubble glass for this. So this holds, I think, 5 milliliters of liquid, even though it does not look like it. And it actually is probably one of the best looking bubble glass sections I've ever seen because it doesn't really protrude out all crazy on this one. So to get to the deck, you just unscrew this bottom. And it pops straight out. There is a coil in here, but we're going to take it out and stick one of these mech aliens in here. This one has a little bit of a unique wicking method to it, but nothing too crazy. All right. Come on now. Oh. There we go. Tighten this side back down. All right. So these right here, definitely made for dual coils on a mech, preferably a parallel mech, but you know, come out to 0.08 as the pair, but we're only going to use one, so it should be about 0.16. I'm going to cut these to about 5.5. Looks pretty good. Height-wise, at least. And these are 2.5 millimeter ID coils. I think that looks pretty good. You can kind of gauge the height on this one by making sure it's just barely above that little crescent piece right there, because that is where your cotton is going to puff up. Yeah, so if you look at it straight on, it should be just above that little crescent there. All right, let me move some of this out of the way. Right now it's coming out to 0.13, sounds about right. Crank this down some. All right. Coil Cloud has quietly stayed the course. Damn good hardware at proper price. Yeah. I like Jonathan's coils too. Like, not just everything he offers up on the site, which I definitely appreciate, as I'm sure a lot of people do, but his coils are damn good. Came out to 0.17. Not bad, about the same. A little bit higher than I would have expected, but nothing wrong with 0.17. Some wick going on here. Now, like I said, this one has a little bit of a weird wicking method to it. Not super weird. Basically what's going on is those little holes up in there, it's a gravity feed type of system, and you want your cotton to be kind of puffed up so that it can just kind of continue to drip and it saturates all the cotton, and it can kind of stay ahead of just the fact that it's a gravity fed system, which usually wick a little bit slower. But if you have it puffed up some, I'll show you what I'm talking about. It works a lot better. Small mass aliens. Yeah, those are some damn good ones. I really dig his Fralians too. They're the closest Fralians to Twisted Timmy's, I think. Timmy's are my favorite, but Jonathan's are easily number 2. Now you don't need a lot of wick with this one at all, because essentially all you're doing, you've got that little bit of wick well space right there, but you're not really tucking it down in there a crazy amount. So you basically want to cut it probably about right there. We'll do it about like that. Oop, might have cut that other one a little too short. I think we'll be all right. Because you don't want the wick super down in there. You don't want to thin it out a crazy amount either. Just enough to make sure everything's straight and any kind of stragglers are out of the mix. Then after that, just kind of barely setting it in there and leaving it puffed up like that. Same thing on this side. And you'll see down here, you've got kind of openings that go into the wick well. You can see a little bit of your wicks if you really look through it. But when you look at it side on like that, you shouldn't see any of your wicks really. That's about the way you want it, because that's really for liquid to channel back around and go back into that wick well. Being a little finicky, you guys know me. All right, go ahead, try this. For this one, I'm gonna use my chocolate overdose custard. We'll clean it up a little bit more on that wicking once we get it saturated. Nice crackle to that already. We're almost a sizzle there for a second. Well, I said we'd clean it up, and not really what's happening. There we go. There we go. All right. I think that's good. Just want to line up kind of the indentation there, the compressed chamber with the coil. You can do it by just removing the deck and putting it down in there. There's really just an O-ring holding it in place, and it's not crazy tight. We'll just screw this down. Beauty ring back on. quarter turn quick release. This thing has huge kidney holes for being a 22 millimeter RTA. All right, let's jump back up top, vape on it, see how it does. I love the look of this RTA with the bubble glass. It's the only bubble glass RTA that I'm like, I really dig the look of that. All right, so 0.17. See how 55 does. Airflow, I'm not gonna have it just wide open because I pretty much know where I like this. 2 holes are all that's open on the top, the bottom completely open. Paul said, I'm sure glad that you got back to doing YouTube more often again. I really look forward to seeing the shows. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. I hope everybody is happy about the shows. I'd like some suggestions on what you guys would like to see, because half the time I'm just kind of like, what are we going to do? About a week or two before I do each live stream, and then it's sort of a rush to figure out what will work. Izzy, what's up, brother? You're not that late. The Dead Rabbit M was a bust with 4mm ID coil. Pretty sure it would be with the 3.5 as well. So we may go back to it and stick 2.5 or a 3mm ID coil in it. I almost think it would have to be 3mm. I don't know if a 2.5 would really have enough cotton for the wick well in that thing, but we'll see. It didn't do well when I did it. This is vaping absolutely amazing. This has amazing flavor for any RTA, let alone a single coil 22mm. Make sure it's wicking good on us. Yep. Seeing bubbles. The bubbles being a gravity feed system kind of comes slowly but surely. See if we can catch this one. Oh, I think I might have missed it right before. But yeah, they just kind of come up slowly but surely. But the way you kind of have that cotton puffed up, as it drips down, it'll just continue to saturate the cotton. Three millimeter must be fine. Really? Yeah, I would say so. See what's going. What else did I miss in chat? That I'm down with 3. I usually use that anyway. We'll try and go back and do the Dead Rabbit M with a 3mm. You dig not knowing until you post the thumbnail day of the show. Yeah, I normally always post the thumbnail pretty much the day of the show. Sometimes I'll post it on Instagram early, like I did with this one. I stuck it on Instagram, I want to say Friday, just as, I guess, like a teaser. Yeah, it's wicking great. Honestly, I think we could probably crank the wattage up. Crank it up to 60. I want to see what it's doing voltage wise. One of the things I hate about anything that tries to mimic the DNA chipset is, unless you stick it on voltage, it doesn't show you what the voltage is when you're firing it. And I kind of like that. All right, let's give it a go. Yeah, that is amazing flavor. One of the most flavorful RTAs I've ever come across. I do think the Blaze and the Fatality M25 remastered have a little bit better flavor, but this one is definitely a banger. Yeah, it's crackling really good. Chuck Wright says, I would be interested in learning to DIY juice, but can't get the ingredients because of where you live. Oh, dude, that sucks. That really sucks. Yeah, this is actually wicking better than the last time I wicked this thing up. So I think we probably cut the wicks about perfect. I thought they were a little short, but this thing is wicking beautifully. So yeah, honestly, I think you should probably cut them about as short as I did when I was like, oh shit. Shouldn't have been, because it was about damn perfect. The airflow on this, I don't know. Maybe I need to switch the drip tip out, but I really like this one. Let me try a different drip tip with this. It's a little airy, but I think it's where drip tip that I'm using. Let me show you guys an up close. Pretty damn wide bore for this thing. So let me see if I can find one that's not quite so wide bore. Let's try this one. Seems a little bit better. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Except it doesn't want to sit down all the way. Great. Can't win for losing. What else we got? That one's wide bore as hell too. I'm just going to go back to the one we had. I guess until I find another one that'll work. Most of the drip tips that I have are really wide bore because I like that. But on this one, I think more of just kind of a standard bore 810 is going to do the trick a lot better. Izzy, thank you so much, brother. Since you're a little late, I should have a review for the Matterhorn up tomorrow. Probably late afternoon, early evening, I would say. I still have to edit it all together. All right. So this one did killer, even though the Dead Rabbit Dam was a little bit of a bust. I don't know what you guys want to do. We can go back and do the Dead Rabbit M with a 3mm ID coil, or we can go ahead and use this other coil clout mech alien that we have and stick it in the Blotto Mini. You guys choose. You're up early. Where are you at, Izzy? All right. Hey, Sorteal, grab the restricted drip tip from the Nitrous Special Edition 810, but restrictive. Yeah, I was going to, but it's kind of in the other room at the moment. Actually, I think I might have the white one around here somewhere. Yeah. It's not going to look the greatest, but let's see. We'll at least know how well it does. I'm sure it does great because the drip tip that comes with it fits the standard Nitrous RTA perfectly. Yeah. Yeah, that's so much better. I love wide bore drip tips, but on the Nitrous, at least the RTA, now I've put wide bore drip tips on the Nitrous RTA and they work great, but For this one, I'd say you want something a little more restrictive. See, that one covers that hole about perfect. The other one we had, basically all that indentation down in there was not there for the other one. So it just made it teeny bit too much air. I'm not big into sub-ohm tanks much anymore, but the convenience is nice. So when I bought a full case of TFV8 coils, 10-pack for $9.70, I was stoked. Yeah, I bet. Izzy or Massachusetts, that sucks, brother. Well, it sucks vaping wise. All right, David said Blotto. Microwave oven said Dead Rabbit. Get it over with. Let's just get it over with on the... We'll do the Blotto immediately after, but let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and stick a 3mm in this, because I want to get this to work. And I'm not even 100% sure. I guess I'd have to take the 510 pin out to get the spring-loaded platform out. Sister is working contract at the Med Center, Nantucket Island. Always something makes it seem like just a pretty small world. But I like that. Some people don't like that idea of it being a small world, but I like that idea. All right. So with this one, let's do, what was the last thing that we did? We did like 7. I think I'm gonna have to do about the same. So we'll do 7. Just because of the gap between it. Actually, let's do 7.5 since it's 3mm. See how this does. Here we go. I think this is one of Dan Vapes. You can't take the chimney off, but might at least be able to get a good idea. I think we cut a little more off that. All right. There we go. All right. Wait, one of them's caught higher than the other. Oh, come on. There we go. Or so I hope. All right. I think that should work. 0.14. A little bit higher than last time. It's burning off some of that liquid that's around the clamps. A little bit of a sizzle going on. Jonathan's coils don't normally take a lot of pulsing and pinching and strumming. Get a few hot spots, but for the most part, pretty easy pulse and pinch setup on these. There we go. All right, get our wicks going. One thing you hate is anyone who has to lie. What are you talking about as far as what? Anything, I guess? My girlfriend left a note on the refrigerator. This isn't working. Goodbye. Open the door. Fridge works fine. All right. Actually, what am I talking about with his? This is a Watofo coil, not the coil clamp. But these pretty much the same deal. They don't really take a whole lot of pulsing and pinching either. All right. Say about there. I think that looks good. Fingers crossed. Thin it out a little bit, but not a lot, because we need really just to straighten everything out. We need as much wick in there as we can. Fill up some of that space so we don't flood the deck. But it goes in pretty good. Doesn't feel super loose. It's loose compared to normally building this thing with mesh, of course, but doesn't feel crazy loose. All right, I think that looks pretty good. All right, so we were gonna do the multichrome. Let's just go ahead and do it for this one. Like I said, this is a cloudberries and cream. Which, if you ever have a chance in real life to have cloudberries and cream, I highly recommend it. It is extremely good. All right, moment of truth. Oh, it works. All right, let's fill this thing up. See how well it works. So it works with a 3mm. I swear I still think a 3.5 would end up touching that top cap, or that the chimney top cap. Crank this airflow down some. All right. One thing I like about Sorteal, he's very truthful. I try to be. Microwave oven, yeah, it's 3mm ID. It's working damn good. I actually think I like this better. Let's see what our resistance came out to in the end. 0.2, these were 0.22, so yeah, that's about spot on. for Watofo. All right. How's it wicking? I see a ton of like remnants of bubbles at the top. I think I'm just missing them. Cloudberries, aren't they very sweet, very tart, Scandinavian? Cicero, yeah. I mean, I think they grow in Canada too, but normally where you find them is in Scandinavia. That's where I had them. And yeah, they're a bright orange berry. They're really sweet. They're tart. They're kind of that mix of tart and almost bitter, similar to the tartness of a cranberry, but just very sweet. This is actually working great. This may be my new use for the Dead Rabbit M, is not mesh, but a single 3mm ID coil. As long as it wicks okay. I'm still wondering where all the bubbles are at. Not getting any dry hits. At least not yet. There went a big one. As soon as I undid the top and that pressure release. That's normally a bad sign though. You're not getting any wicking and then all of a sudden you take top cap off and you get a huge bubble. Normally means there's too much pressure in your wick wells. Mr. Freeze said save the dead rabbit for last, cliffhanger. Nah. We just went ahead and did it. I feel bad that the 3.5 nor the, well, we don't really know for sure about 3.5, but I'm almost positive that that 4 touches, 3.5 is probably going to touch. It's really good, but I think something's off with the wicking. I don't like it when it does that. You take a top cap off and then all of a sudden you get a big, huge bubble. Normally means your wicking's off. And I'm not seeing any bubbles. Wonder if we just got it too jacked up in there. Antonio, what's up, brother? I don't think we got it too jacked up in there. It's practically out of it. All right. Only thing I'm doing here, I'm just puffing the cotton up some, kind of getting the wick a little less shoved down in the wick well. One thing I don't like about the Dead Rabbit M, I've noticed after using it for a longer period of time, screwing the deck back onto the rest of the RTA, it's a little crunchy. It's weird. Just the threading's not great. All right, let's see if this solves our wicking issue. Damn wicking game is why I lean on RDAs. Far more tolerant. Yeah, I mean, same thing here, really. That and I mean, you can't really beat an RDA when it comes to flavor. And I still think until the last maybe 3 years, RTAs just weren't good before that at all. Anything? Yeah, there's a little bit of bubblage going on. I think I just had too much of the wick down in that wick well. Yeah, there was a big bubble. So yeah, it's wicking good now. Flavor's great too. This multichrome, if you're a mixer, is made with SSA Scandinavian fruit. And then a cream combo. Recipes up on all the flavors if you guys want to check it out. But this is really good. This is kind of one of those that I did up pretty quick, just wanting to mess with SSA Scandinavian fruit, and was really kind of blown away by the final result. What's my favorite custard recipe? Been looking for one with a bit of sour sharpness to it, like a traditional custard. I really like, my favorite e-liquid ever is my vanilla overdose custard version 3, but it does not have that sourness. It's got a little bit of, it's very eggy heavy. So there's that to it that's a lot like a traditional custard. And I think what it does right, as far as a traditional custard that a lot of recipes don't, is it has that density right off the top. It's kind of like taking a bite into actual custard. It's thick right off the bat, but then just kind of the heat from being in your mouth makes it creamy there at the end. That recipe really does that, but it does not have that sour sharpness that custard actually has. I've never really tried for that, and most recipes that I've ever tried seem like they try and avoid that kind of sour sharpness that custards actually have, in favor of more of a heavy egginess. I'm guessing that's because so many flavors that could really pull that off, it would be kind of, it would be a little difficult for it to get it perfect to where it doesn't just all of a sudden become like spoiled milk flavor. Hankson's Italian cream, that might do it. Yeah, this is working great. But yeah, as far as my favorite custard recipe is my recipe, which is the only recipe of mine that I will say I like better as far as the flavor profile than either somebody else's recipe or maybe a commercial e-liquid, something like that. Because I really, that's my all-day vape, is my vanilla overdose custard 3. Actually, I have a newer, slightly newer version of it that I use. It's a private recipe. But it may be available as a one-shot here before too long. I guess it'll be version 4. All right, take a look at the Blotto. All right. I think most people, if you're into rebuildables, know the Blotto. This is the original Blotto Mini. So like Bogan didn't even really do much. He didn't even say much about this one because he did the Blotto, and then who is it? Doppo? Who does this with him? It doesn't even say on the bottom. I can't remember. Yeah, Doppo. They wanted to do a smaller version, like a 22 millimeter, because a lot of the Asian market likes small RTAs and small RDAs. So they kind of just shrunk it to, I think this is actually like 23.4 or something like that. It's something off. I'm guessing it was as much as they could shrink it down and still allow it to be dual coil, because if it was any smaller, you just couldn't really fit 2 3 millimeter ID coils. Steve-O, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. Or good to read you, I guess would be more to the point. But we're going to stick a single 3 millimeter coil in this because it works great with one. And we're going to use that other, well, actually, no, we're going to stick a 2.5 because I want to use this other coil from Jonathan, the Mech Alien. All right. I actually have not built this up in a while. I have 2 of these, and it's probably my favorite out of the Blottos, except for the Blotto Max. I really like the Blotto Max. All right. Let's do 6, maybe. Is that right? All right. Keep back some of these out a little farther. I remember right, they're flatheads. Yep. Okay. I need to back this one out. It's a little hard to tell sometimes unless you're looking directly at the legs, because he always does that bend where they're perfectly aligned, which for an RTA, I love that he does that, but trying to put it in an RTA, a lot of times that can be kind of annoying. Oh, come on. Well, I got them both where they're supposed to go, but I don't think they're backed out far enough. Oh. Too blind for these screws. May need to cut them shorter, honestly. And I lost the damn screw. But yeah, I'm gonna have to cut these shorter. Hang on just a second. Hell, I have no idea where that screw went. We're gonna have to use one of the other ones for now, and I'll find it after the stream. Hopefully this one doesn't go flying, and then I gotta try and find it later. There we go. All right. Let me cut this. I guess I'm gonna do 5.5. And now let's see. We can get this in here. It was kind of my only complaint about the Blotto deck, is it can be a pain in the ass to just get the coil installed. All right, I think that's about got it. Well, maybe. This is one thing about trying to build on camera. Because I can never see the damn thing. There we go. That's better. All right, finally. That looks pretty good. Uh-oh. It's telling me to check atomizer. Don't know what. Could be wrong. Or unless this is one of those atomizers that the Galore is just too short for the Galore. Let's see if we have a check atomizer on the Hadron. Oh, these should be on the same side for this? I guess you're right, yeah. Whoops. Let's do it that way. First, let me check this. All right. All right. I guess that's better. I'm at the 0.14. Steve-O, thank you for saving the day. Don't know what I was thinking. Apparently I was not. Turn this down. Actually, I want to move this a little bit. Right about there. Mowgli, what's going on, brother? Steve-O said he made that mistake once too. But at least I'm not alone. I'm not sure what atomizer or deck I was thinking I needed to do that with that looks like this. I would have bet the farm I needed to do that. But I don't know why, considering the way the airflow works on this. You'd think I'd know right off the bat, hey. All right. See what it came out to. 0.18 this one looks like, which I don't doubt from as much as we janked the legs up. Turn the wattage up just a hair, and let's go ahead and wick this bad boy. This wick is way too long. All right. Just check leads on one side. Yeah. Yeah. Was doing it wrong. Damn it, me. Mowgli, hope you're doing all right, brother. I have to remember that about, yeah, on some of the Galores, or with the Galore 21, some atomizers, their 510 is just too short. Now, we'll check it again with this, because it very well could have just been the way I had those leg leads in incorrectly. But I think it's maybe that it's also just short. I think that'll do. It may actually be a little long. There we go. A little off camera there, my bad. I think that ought to do. Considering we're just going with one coil and it's a 2.5 millimeter. One thing I like about the window type of system is you can kind of just shove your wicks down in there if you need to, and then kind of pull them through and get them a little bit more straight through that wicking window. I think that looks fairly good. All right. So for this one, I'm going to use my cookies and pudding. This is basically Oreo pudding. I remember when this kind of came out, not just this one, but the original. Oh, now it's saying 0.16. Kind of another thing about the DNA is that it'll tell you one, and when you ask it to measure it, and then you go to fire, and it will be like, hey, is this a new coil? And then you hit yes, and it's like, oh, well, its resistance is actually exactly what it should have been. Sorry, we misinformed you moments ago. But when this came out, a lot of people complained about the airflow to the Blotto, and especially the Blotto Mini, saying it was far too restrictive. But I thought it was pretty nice. Same with the newer line, the Blotto 1.5, Blotto Max. All right, I think that should do. A lot of people thought just even too restrictive on those. All right, let's jump back up top, fill this up. Here we go. One thing I do not like about this one is the straight glass is real tight. I mean, you can even see this. Check this out. This is how tight this glass is. Like, there's still plenty of stuff to fill up, but it will overfill that right there, and it'll bubble up and out because there's just very little space there. I have another one that has the bubble glass on it. I had to break the straight glass from that one. I actually have a bunch of extra straight glass. Ohms too low. Uh-oh. Well, now it's telling me all of a sudden the ohms jumped or dropped to 0.02. Didn't short, but now the ohms are ridiculously low. Let's see, let's drop back down here. See what's up with this one. Now it's saying 0.16 again. See what happens when we put the chimney back on. And try and fire it. Ohms too low. 0.02. That's nuts. Any ideas? How often do I have to clean my up close camera lens? A lot. It ends up BG soaked pretty bad. All right, I'm trying to figure out why it's doing that. That's so odd. Devs, what's going on? Now it's saying back to 0.16. Let's see without the top cap. I can fire it just fine until I screw that top cap down on it. Wonder. Surely that wouldn't be it, but maybe. Let's replace that grub screw that fell out. So I just happen to have the box to the Blotto Mini sitting right here. I would have just replaced the glass on it, but this one I've never replaced the straight glass, and every Blotto Mini I've ever owned, you have to break the straight glass to get it off. Birdman, what's up, brother? Birdie, maybe you can tell us what's up with this one. Birdie, I hope you're doing good, man. I know all that bullshit going on down there. It's not good. All right, give me just a second to try and get this in, because this grub screw is ridiculously small. And I am ridiculously blind. So Birdie, I'm going to tell you what's going on with this one. It's the Blotto Mini. Got it built up with a single coil. One of my grub screws fell out, trying to replace it. But it measures out to 0.16 single coil, which is what it's supposed to be. Then I put top cap on, go to fire it, and it says ohms too low, and they drop suddenly to 0.02. I've never even seen a reading that low. There we go. Finally. I seriously doubt that did it. Okay. Yeah, it's going good, brother. If I could get this Blotto Mini to not scream at me. As soon as I put that top cap on, 0.02. I'm just shocked it doesn't tell me hard short. When the hell could you be touching? That you're not touching when it had to be something touching. Oh, I bet I know exactly what it is. That right there. One of the grub screws that was backed out from before, still hanging out, backed out just a little bit, like barely enough to even notice, but it is still backed out. Let's see what happens now. 0.16. See what happens when we fire it. Oh, there we go. Success. Success. Thank you, Birdie. All right. See how it does with a single coil. Which actually, it does good. Wire sticking out of the clamp. No, it was just that grub screw. One of the grub screws was still backed out a little bit. And I guess it was just perfect enough that when we screwed it down onto the chimney, it's touching the chimney. It's odd it didn't say short. It just immediately dropped down to 0.02. It's really good. I think the Blotto Mini is another one of those RTAs that just has outstanding flavor, especially when you stick a single coil in it. Yeah, the single coil loosens up the pull off of it. I think it has a lot better airflow with a single coil. Although even dual coil, I didn't mind the airflow so much. I usually just cranked it wide open for the most part. Might cut it down 10-15% closed off, and then I was fine with it. I liked kind of that tight pull. This is definitely a looser pull, but I'm really digging it. And I think most people would probably like this one better with a single coil in it. Even if you went up to a 3mm ID coil, I think the pull off of it would be a lot better than if you had two. And because of the way the airflow is, it's just completely engulfed the coil in airflow. The flavor off of it is spectacular. Already know this is a 2.5mm single coil at 0.16 ohms. And it's wicking damn good too. I was a little worried about that, but where'd that bubble go? Big, huge bubble right there. All the Blottos were too tight. This is a lot looser than putting any kind of dual coil billet in it, even dual 2.5mm. You put up to a 5mm single in it. I'm sure the pull was still about the same with that, if not even tighter. Oh, the OG Blotto. Birdman, did you like the Blotto Max and 1.5? Because with those, I wasn't sad to see the the tighter pull gone, but it was kind of one of those. It's like, oh man, I kind of like that pull, but I really like the pull off of the Max as well, especially. So can't really complain. Fill that up a little bit more. I'm going to put this on what I originally meant to put it on. Not the Hadron and not the Galore. But I always have loved this combo right here. Paramore side by side with the Blotto Mini. Make sure it's not going to short out on me. All right. You like massive air? I normally do too if I'm using something on a mech, but I don't know about massive air. Max is my favorite. Fit beefy series aliens in it. Nice. Said I do. I still frequently use the included beer opener. Same here. I've got one hanging up over here. Birdie, you take it easy, brother. Really dig this. I remember with this, what is this? The Paramore? Yeah. With the Paramore side by side, people complained that the buttons were flipped. Basically because the way they looked at it was, here's the screen. You're looking at it side on. This should be down and it's up, right? But honestly, I think just the way they did it was the usual layout of anything sitting straight up. Right is plus, left is negative, and they just didn't even care about the screen being sideways, because people were complaining about that, and I was like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. I've never had issues. I've never hit the accidental button to go up when I meant to go down, nothing like that. And then I finally realized that's what they were talking about, was if it was sideways, this should be up and this should be down. But I think when they made it, I think Mech Life was just like, whatever. Go with how they all look. I love that Birdie got to jump in here. You love which mod? This one? The Paramore? If that's what you're talking about, I agree. I really dig the Paramore. Brody says I probably didn't wick it correctly. It made such a mess, pissed me off, so I put it away. Haven't been back to it since. I never built the 1.5 or the Mini because of that situation. Oh, gotcha. It's not bad if you get it wicked right. Robert Butler, what's up? People bandwagon on weird dislikes about some mods. Yeah, they definitely do. Definitely do. All right, so Blotto Mini and the Nitrous are running great. I love Nitrous. That damn thing is so good. Birdie is good people. Birdie is amazingly good people. I knew nothing about Birdman other than like watching his reviews, things like that. And then when I started making videos, Birdman started commenting. Basically, he corrected me. That's what he did. Like on a few things, I was a little off, or it was just things that I'd been told and I'd seen reviewers say, I had seen printed on websites. Mainly, the big conversation was parallel mechanical mods, which I never really used at that point. I had a couple, but I just, And I decided to make a video going over series builds and series mods and things like that. And in it, I talked about parallel for just a second. And I made the mistake of saying that a parallel mechanical mod doubles your amps, not your voltage. And he left a comment, was like, it does not double your amps, it shares the amperage between the batteries. And I made a whole other video going over parallel mechanical mods because of this conversation I had with Birdie in the comments, and then also on Instagram a little bit. And a friend of mine, I've talked about him on the channel before, Terry, he's an electrical engineer. And so I asked him, I was like, why is it everywhere I see all this stuff and read all this stuff saying parallel doubles your amps? And he's like, well, because people are stupid and lazy and they don't want to have to go into the whole idea of, let me explain how this really works. So he explained it to me again, and then I did a whole video. And after all that and various conversations with Birdman, just through comments, I got to know him a lot better. And then he started hitting me up about zero mods, and then he'd give me a call every so often, video chat. And then that's pretty much stayed that way as far as communicating through Instagram. And then every once in a while, might give each other a shout on video call. Most of the time, because he's in Australia, it's rare that we're up at the same time, because that man works like nobody else's business. All right. So, how about the Eclipse? Because I want something on a mechanical mod this evening, and the Eclipse is going to go on the Trishul V2. Hayes leads a lot of charges. Oh, you're talking about like jumping all over odd things to be mad about with a mod. All right. There is the deck for the Eclipse. Very recurve-like, which is most of Mike Vapes' stuff, but hey, if it works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? All right. These are flatheads. Go ahead, back a couple of these out. Now this one, if I remember right, needs some pretty long leg leads. So I'm going to cut it first to 8 because I cannot remember what the exact leg lead length is for this one. If it ain't broke, don't break it. Yeah, that's even better. But I think it's something close to 7 or 8. Yeah, 8'll work. Has really, really deep leg lead inserts. There's 1. And 2. Looks pretty good. Should get plenty of airflow, kind of that underside there. Some underneath the coil. Dig that. All right, this is an RTA that, like, if you hate RTAs because of the wicking, this is one to get. Because the wicking on it is just stupid easy. There's really not much to it at all. It basically wicks like an RTA. My Eclipse lives on top of my Arcless. Perfect little combo. Nice. I bet that is a damn good combo. And with this, pretty much to the base cut. Even them out a little bit. And that's about all we're going to do as far as thinning this out. After that, I just wick it like it's an RTA. It has these windowed wicking channels down here, but you don't really need to try and tuck anything in. Just wick it like you would an RTA and it will do just fine. Wait a second, I didn't even pulse and pinch this damn thing, did I? What's wrong with me tonight, guys? Actually, I know what's wrong with me, and I'll tell you guys a little bit later what's wrong with me. All right. We'll re-wick this in a second. That is water. That kind of sizzle and hiss is all water. All right, there we go. Ooh, I like the colors that came out too. Shockingly, I haven't gotten around to building my Eclipse or Eclipse Dual yet. You must have a bunch of stuff just sitting around you haven't even touched, brother. All right. So this time again, to the base. That might even be a little too long, honestly. Yeah, I think it was, but we're going to roll with it, see how it does. We're going to roll with it and see how it does. Because I swear I think it'll still do good. All right. So for this one, let's try my twinkiness. Came out to 0.21, which is about where it's supposed to be almost. That's the one of the problems with this so far, this e-liquid, is the room note to it is not Twinkie. When you vape it, so it tastes almost like a generic Twinkie, but the room note to it is not. The room note to it's almost coffee, like a latte type of coffee. All right, I think that'll do. I don't know why I wanted to try a single coil in this one, but I really did. All right, that looks good. Jump back up top. We'll fill this one up. All right, there we go. Crank our wattage up some. There isn't a single coil RTA I could ever get along with. I have a couple I want to try again though. Just thinking about grabbing one of those Paramore mods for them. It works really good, especially with smaller RTAs like 22, 24 millimeter. Only problem with it is if you like bubble glass sections, they're probably not going to fit on there. It just doesn't, it just doesn't have the space. The gap between the deck and the actual atomizer, it's just not enough for bubble glass. It won't screw down, which really kind of sucks with that Blotto Mini, because I would rather have the bubble glass on it because it wicks a little bit better. You don't get kind of the liquid backing up when you're trying to fill it and having it go slow. This is actually doing really well. Turn the airflow down a little bit. Let me see. Hang on just a second here. Oh. Okay. So in case anyone was confused, what we built and put a single coil in is the Eclipse Dual. This is the single coil one. I wanted to see how well the dual would do with a single coil, but it just occurred to me that if you don't know the Eclipse, you might think the one we built was the single coil version. It is not. It's wicking pretty damn good. I swear, I think the Eclipse and the Eclipse Dual are RTAs for people that don't like wicking RTAs. Yeah, that seems to be doing really well. Let's go ahead. Actually, let's crank it up just a hair. To 70, which is actually a little more than it'll be doing on a mechanical mod. Yeah, I think that'll work. I love the look of this combo, and I'll show you in the up close kind of one of the reasons why. Move some of this stuff out of the way. Here we go. Triple B2 with the Eclipse. I just love the lines. The lines match up so well with this. And the Eclipse Dual is just almost the perfect size for this. The Eclipse single coil fits on it very well and looks really good on it. All right, let's see how she does. Really well. I love this setup right here. Normally, my black Tristle V2 has one of the two Eclipse RTAs on it. It just looks great. It performs great. And like I said, I really like the Tristle V2. I wasn't a huge fan of the original Tristle mechanical mod, but the V2 is really nice. Yeah, it's wicking beautifully. Bubbles for days. I was a little worried about it because we had so much wick. That was more wick than we needed for sure. But like I said, just being the fact that you basically wick it like you would an RDA and don't worry about tucking it into anything. You don't have to worry about getting it into that wick window. Really, it's just wick it like you would an RDA and go with it. I think that's one of the strongest points to the Eclipse single and the dual. I'd like hell to get a V2. I was simply too late. Sat on it too long. Man, that sucks. They're really good mechanical mods, especially for the price point that they're at. I haven't had any trouble with the two that I have. I've got a black one and all copper one back there. And I really like the fairly unique magnetic switch on them. Have an old reload, haven't built it in a while. Never liked how the dudes on the top cap felt when I hit it. Ridges, not dudes. All right. So that sounds right up my alley. Any more complicated than that, and I throw the towel in and shelf it. Yeah, there's not much to wick in either one of the Eclipse, either the single or the dual. And a single, I like the way the single looks with bubble glass. I don't know why. Normally, if it's going to have bubble glass, I wanted the RDA or the RTA to be shorter. If it's tall and it has big protruding bubble glass, so you're trying to get 8 milliliters of liquid in it, I hate the way those look. Josh said, I haven't popped my tube mech cherry yet. I don't even know what to recommend anymore. Although, I mean, you got the Dreamer V2 supposedly right around the corner. Times Vape says they have a mock-up of it that they're testing, which I'm sure they do. You can still get the Keen. You can still get the Dreamer 1.5, which I think either one of those, Keen or Dreamer 1.5, is a great first mech to give it a go with. The Vert 3 should be sometime soon, hopefully. Are you talking about with this one? Or the one that actually comes with it? The one that comes with the Eclipse, I can't stand. I hate the shape of it. Does this have it? This is the secondary one on the Eclipse single coil, but it flares out. It's all like upside down bell shape, and I don't like it. And the other one that comes with it has like a big gap in the middle of the drip tip itself, and I don't like it either. Hey, wow, what's up? Vindicator flashlight, yeah. What's the hardest hitting flashlight you'll ever own? Yeah, this is working great. And wicking great. I'm really shocked about that. I did not think that one would wick super well. I'm gonna go back to the nitrous just because. But I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys why I'm like all over the place a little bit. My wife and I went and saw a thoracic surgeon today. So the spot that was on my lungs, I haven't told anybody this. I'll go ahead and tell you guys really. Spot on my lungs turned out to be a carcinoid tumor. And so we had to go talk to a thoracic surgeon about removing it. And my pulmonologist was basically like, hey, you may not have to, lose an entire lobe of your lung. If you don't know, your lung, each one is basically divided into 3 sections, upper, mid, and lower. He was saying I might just lose a piece of my lower lobe, which is where it's at. Well, when we went to talk to the surgeon today, I really liked the surgeon. He walked through absolutely everything. He made my wife feel better about the whole surgery. Really walked us through the whole process and everything that's going to go on after surgery, how long we'd be in the hospital, what it would be like when we got home, which is something that a lot of doctors don't really do that. Pretty much once you're out of the hospital, they're like, all right, well, take care. But he really walked us through all that. But his opinion was I needed to lose the entire right lower lobe of my lung. He did say, he was like, you won't really notice it as far as doing your regular activities. If I did something super strenuous, if I played a sport or, trying to go running full tilt, basically, then I would definitely notice it. But it's the idea that you're going to lose an entire section of your lung to something that's just genetic. And he reiterated that same thing that my pulmonologist said. The carcinoid was far more genetic in nature. It wasn't really caused by smoking. It wasn't caused by vaping, although he seemed like, because he asked how I quit smoking and I said through vaping, he was just like, oh, good for you. And then never said you should also quit vaping. Never said that once. So, but he seemed like a really intelligent doctor that read a lot. But yeah, so I'm a little off tonight just because that's worrying me. It's probably going to be next month. So what we're shooting for is the middle of June to do the surgery. So basically, if you try having sex, yeah, I might notice it then too. Yeah. But yeah, middle of next month is when it's going to happen, and then it takes about a month to recover from. So the channel will probably have a downturn there for about a month. I'll try and post some stuff here and there on Instagram, do maybe a short or two once I get back home if I'm feeling up to it. But yeah, channel probably be non-existent for about a month until I get fully healed up. But just the idea of that is kind of throwing me off a little bit. But yeah, out of these, I gotta say the Nitrous is my favorite. Easy, because it's one of my favorite RTAs ever. But the Blotto Mini with a single coil in it, I think is the way to vape this one. It doesn't have quite as tight a pull, even though I really like the pull when you have dual coils in it, but this way you can play with the airflow more. Like I had it cut down probably 35-40% as opposed to if I had dual coils in it, I'd pretty much have it wide open. Also, my 12-year-old only has one lung since birth. They said he would be held back a lot. He's quarterback of his football team 3 years now. Hell yeah. I love hearing that kind of stuff. And yeah, I agree. Your 12-year-old sounds like a beast. I mean, like I said, he was like, you're not going to notice it. Like, he's like, just doing every, usual activities, you're not going to notice it. He was just like, if you went and played sports that you haven't played in a long time, or you went, running at full speed, he's like, then you're going to notice it. But he didn't say like I would be like, oh shit, notice it. Just I would become out of breath. he said overall, I'm not really going to notice, period, that it's not there. It's not going to feel different. My breathing's not going to feel different, anything like that. It's just going to be, I will be out of breath a little bit easier than I would have been. But he's tough as wet leather, has an arm on him like Marino, throws a beautiful ball. Nice. That's awesome, man. Surgical assistant for 10 years. My advice, between the doctor and the surgeons, take the surgeon. Unique reality of perception amongst that. They're in the trenches and see more than a doc. Yeah. He definitely seemed that way too. So he seemed way more, not that my pulmonologist isn't up to date. Like, he's a very, very good pulmonologist, but he definitely was not up to date on, like, say, research within vaping until he got me as a patient and could not talk me out of, or couldn't talk me into quitting vaping at the time. And the surgeon was just, he didn't care. But the way he talked about certain studies, because he talked about localized radiation for my lung and how at the moment he didn't think it was quite there, and that surgery was the better option at the moment. But he talked about the studies he had read for it that were very recent, and when he did, it was like one of us talking about a vape study that came out either in favor of vaping, which most of them do, or it was one that disproved some bullshit that kind of the anti-vaping community likes to spout out there. He was talking about it like that, so that kind of made me realize he was definitely somebody that was well read on the matter. And he didn't, I don't know, he didn't try and tell me to quit anything or not do anything, or not to change my life 180 degrees because of this. He was just like, this is just something you got to do. God damn it, Sorteal, not fair. Get the damn thing out, get home, get better. We're here. Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. Go get the thing out, come back, heal up. I've had, God knows how, I think I've had, last time I counted, I've had 33 surgeries in my life. Just because of my Crohn's disease mainly, and my kidney cancer. So the fact of having a surgery doesn't bother me so much. I think it's just like with my Crohn's, and they're telling me we're going to take 4 to 6 inches of your small intestines. Well, you have 24 feet of small intestines. It never bothered me much until honestly, I think I could have a couple more small bowel resections before I'd really start to worry about that. But with your lungs, it's only 6 sections that you have to work with. I think that freaked me out a little more than I thought it would, but I don't know. I feel better about the whole thing after talking to that surgeon, because it was already determined I needed to have surgery more than likely. But he made me and my wife, which I was very appreciative of, that he answered every single question she had very attentively and made her feel a lot better. He didn't go out of his way to bullshit her to make her feel better. He just answered all of her questions and then would also explain why she shouldn't necessarily be worried about it. I had a heart attack on Christmas Day of 2014. I've got 4 stents and a lifetime of poison to take every day. Keep me ticking. I'm definitely not the same, but every day above ground's a good one. Hell yeah, I agree. I agree, Robert Butler. That's rough, man. My stepfather, He is 81 years old and he had 4 stents. And at the moment, he really only has 2 that are functioning fully. And they're kind of just waiting. And he thinks it's funny because the 2 that he has that are actually still functioning were put in back in like 97. Everyone he's had put in and since then, and there's been multiple because they have to keep replacing them, just does not seem to last or work. And he always makes jokes that they don't build shit like they used to. But he has kind of that whole same thing going on. He's had, I think, four or 5 heart attacks. Plus he has COPD now. He smoked filterless Pall Malls for God knows how long. For some reason, my sister and I could never convince him to switch over to vaping. He just wouldn't do it. That worries me. I still have one artery that's 65% clogged, but legally they can't touch it until it's 70. Paul, I completely agree with that. Nobody has the perfect, cheery, happy life that they did not have to endure something. And if you did, you're probably not that interesting, because I think stuff like that makes people, it creates character, and character makes people interesting. Yeah, these are all damn good. I don't think I'm going to do we'll save the Profile M for another time. We will stick a coil in it though next time we do it up. I really like this RTA as well. I really like it with mesh, but it does great with a single coil as well. I've been able to convince exactly 0 smokers to switch. I've convinced a few. When I worked for an e-liquid company that owned a bunch of vape shops, and I worked at the vape shops too. And I was able to convince a couple of people. But they were already somewhat interested. They were coming into the vape shop to see what it was all about, but they were kind of, just laughing, and they had enough interest to walk in, but they didn't actually think they were going to walk out with anything. But I had several people that did that and actually walked out with a vape kit. Only one that I know of, though, continuously came back to at least that vape shop that I knew about or heard about later. Yeah, Josh, I love that line. A knight in shining armor has never had his metal tested. I switched to third coworker after 2 years of talking about it and doing it. Nice. My sister switched to vaping, but she did that without me saying anything. And she still vapes to this day. But she doesn't vape a whole lot anymore, but she still keeps like a pod system. Basically because she just thinks eventually she would go back to smoking. Some kind of stress would come in life and she would go back to smoking unless she happened to have, some type of vape device around. Josh, I want that on a shirt now. Does she bug you for juice? No, not really. Well, she lives in Florida and I live in Kentucky. I guess I could mail it to her, but she's in Florida, so she's in like the vape haven of the US, so she's fine. I'm really digging this chocolate overdose custard in the nitrous. Like, I really like the chocolate overdose custard anyway. Although I have to admit, it tastes a little bit more like chocolate pudding. There is some egginess in there. But overall, if I didn't know it was supposed to be custard and I vaped it, I would think it was chocolate pudding. But it's still really good. Steve-O says, I've helped several people stick with it after trying it and starting to consider going back to smoking. They just needed encouragement and help with a proper device and nic strength. That is definitely the biggest thing, is the proper device for what that individual smoked, how much they smoked, and then getting their nicotine level right. The vape shop, the one that I worked in, like I said, the company owned several. And then the one that I worked in probably had the most foot traffic. And there were, I don't know, most of the people that worked in there before, they were like, hey, we need you to go work at the vape shop. I was all right, let's go do it. And everybody in there was pushing nic salts to them just constantly. Everybody that came in, they were like, oh, well, you need, 5%, or you need 3%. And I didn't understand that at all, because, and I'm not sure where it came from, because I knew it wasn't part of the company idea. I think it was the gentleman that it was the manager for that particular shop. Just had this idea that if you smoked more than a pack of cigarettes a day, you should start out at 5 or 3% instead of starting out at 6 or 9 or 12 or whatever. They were one of the vape shops that did their own e-liquid. So, and then they also sold the e-liquid that we made. Just funny to recommend to somebody pump their nic up that high, but when I don't really think that that is required. But if it is required for somebody to quit and stay off of it, then yeah, do that. But I just always thought it was weird to recommend that right off the bat. Nobody makes salt under 1% except DIY. Yeah, well, I mean, its whole purpose for even being is so you can jack that nicotine content up and it not be so ridiculously harsh. So it's really made, nic salt is made for high nicotine content e-liquid. Well, I'm the same way. I've never been a nic salt fan. I've never had, like, I quit with, and I was like a 2.5 pack smoker a day, and I quit with 6 milligram. And I kind of accidentally dropped down to 3. I placed an order for some e-liquid. When I got it in, half the order was 3 milligram instead of 6. And I didn't even notice it until I was almost out of e-liquid and it was time to reorder. And I'm looking at the bottle and I'm like, oh shit, this is 3. I've been vaping 3 milligram for the last month and a half. So I just kept ordering 3 milligram. Then once I started DIYing, I dropped it down even more. I dropped it down to 2 and then 1.5 and then 1. And now I pretty much am at half a milligram per milliliter, or sometimes 0.25% of a milliliter. I need a 12 milligram free base and a pod for a week, then immediately jump to 6 in the sub tank. That sounds about right. That sounds about right for most people that ever came into the shop and wanted to quit. Most of them started out at 12 with some type of pod system. And then if they came back to get a bigger device, because for me, and I think it was for a lot of people, honestly, is a pod system didn't mimic the part of smoking that I liked the most, which was just that sensation of inhaling something gaseous and then expelling it out from your lungs. There's something about that that I think is probably one of the biggest addicting things to smoking, plus just the physical mechanic of doing it. Almost more so, at least for me, than nicotine itself. I didn't really have too much of a problem coming off of nicotine, and then like hospital stays, I never wanted a patch for, I can't even remember why I didn't want a patch, but I never got crazy withdrawal symptoms from nicotine or anything like that. At least nothing that all the medicines they had me on didn't just immediately cover up. So TM, yeah, that's definitely true. We had a couple of people that came in that said they needed 5% liquid made up, and somebody would tell them, they're like, so you want 50 milligram per milliliter, and they're like, what? Whoa, no. It's like, yeah, that's what 5% is. Yeah, I think a lot of people think it's 5 milligrams per milliliter. Paul, you makes 2 milligram now. I've actually been thinking about going back up a little bit just to kind of tone the amount that I vape down, kind of forcibly doing it. Because when we built up, it's around here somewhere, the Profile X, and I put the Juice Head Watermelon Lime in it, that's 3 milligram, and that's 6 times the amount of e-liquid that I normally vape. Well, I started vaping on it a lot more frequently, and just my amount of vaping plummeted from that, just because it was so high in nicotine content. I couldn't just keep vaping. It just wouldn't let me. It's too much. So I'm nicking out at 6 milligrams right now, but I'm on a big dual coil RTA at 90 watts. Got 3 milligram for the Goon yesterday. I think it's wise for everybody to drop that down some. I mean, I don't really have a problem with nicotine. I look at nicotine the same way I look at caffeine. But, something happens and you can't get it, or whatever the case may be, no point in going through all that craziness as far as any type of withdrawal, or, that being something that makes you go back to cigarettes if you can't get vape stuff. Started out using a 6 milligram. After a couple of days, it started feeling really harsh, was making me nauseous. Switched to 3 milligram after a week, and I've been using it for the past 7 years. Brody, I'm glad you found what works for you, brother. 7 years. I'm trying to think. I think I'm, as far as completely quitting cigarettes, I think I'm close to 6. I think my 6-year vape anniversary is later, like October. Because I was a dual user for a while. I actually started vaping in 2008, late 2008, early 2009, somewhere in there. But it was nowhere near good enough to make me quit smoking back then. But I was already kind of a electronics computer kind of guy, so it interested the hell out of me. So I kept up with it, kept buying stuff, seeing how it got better and better and better. And then by the time I even discovered what rebuildables were and mechanical mods, I was already pretty much head first into it. But I still smoked. I smoked all the way up until 2017, I think. Mix 2 milligram now as well. My mixes, I run my Boros. I do 3 milligram. Any higher is too much these days. Steve-O, I'd agree. I can do 3 milligram in like a Boro or a pod. And it's not a crazy amount for me, but 3 is definitely the most. I couldn't do 6. 6 I'd get nicked out after just a few pulls, I would imagine. I had no problem stepping down Nick, mix at 1.5. But I can't for hell cut down on the damn caffeine. I hear you there. Caffeine's like the first thing in the morning type of thing for me. But I look at the two pretty much identical. Yeah, this is really good. If you don't have the Nitrous RTA and you like single coil RTAs, or hell, even if you don't like RTAs, this is one to get. Just make sure you get, the only thing I don't like about it, I wish they would release the Nitrous RTA, even if you got to charge a little bit more, that comes with the extension piece and the extension glass and the extension bubble glass. Because when you get it, it comes with straight glass and I think another bubble glass if I remember, but they're real small. They're not as tall as this glass is by any stretch. There's actually an extension tube there that screws into the chimney, and that allows you to put this glass or the extended straight glass on here, and you get a lot more liquid, because the straight glass on this without the extension, it's only like, I think 2 milligrams max. It may even be, or 2 milliliters max. It may even be less than that, honestly. Yeah, when Grim Green talks about vaping 12 milligram in his MTL, I don't know how he does it. I don't know if Grim has stepped down much. I don't know if Nick stepped down much at all. I think he just kind of found the level that he likes, not thinking about having to step down or anything like that, and has just rolled with it since then. Transitioned on a vacation in London. Smokeless since November after 13 years of stinky. Heck yeah. It's one thing too with like doctors, like my pulmonologist, when I first went to him, anytime I talk about vaping and not like, I wasn't going to quit vaping or anything like that, because I was like, I would probably get stressed out, go back to cigarettes. I'm not doing that, man. I'm just not going to quit vaping. I'll quit vaping in my own time if I decide to do that. And he would like giggle. And then when he found out I made my own e-liquid, he laughed and thought that was funny. And then I'd ask him a couple of questions about more current studies that have been done. And he was just like, oh, that's not true. And I'd have to show it to him, like on my phone. But to his credit, he actually went and researched a lot on it. I think he was trying to find something to be like, nope, look right here. And he couldn't really find it. He's still like, you know, he doesn't tell me to quit vaping anymore. He doesn't bring it up. He doesn't say anything about vaping. He doesn't try and link anything that's going on with my lungs at the moment to vaping at all, which he's really never done, but he doesn't do anything like that anymore. But at least he's cool enough that he was like, okay, let me go check all this stuff out. And even if it was to find something to point to with me, at least, you know, he actually read and understood the studies and was like, okay, none of this points to any type of cancer, no cancer link, no nothing. Well, I won't say no nothing, but definitely no cancer link. All right, guys, it is 125, 124. I'm gonna go ahead and call it for the evening. I gotta go crash out. I have to take my daughter to school at 7 a.m. So 7 a.m. is gonna come pretty quick. Appreciate all you guys for coming, hanging out, chit-chatting. I love kind of the end of the stream chit-chat. There's not gonna be a mixing stream this week, but Wednesday I may do just a chill stream. I'll probably build something up, but for the most part, it's going to be just to kind of hang out with you guys, talk about vaping, shoot the shit. I'll also kind of show you guys all the flavors, the V2 version of the site. I'm definitely going to give them a couple of days to work some of the bugs out, because it has a couple of caveats to it at the moment, but they're well aware of those. So yeah, Wednesday there'll be another stream, but it's definitely going to be more of just kind of a vape and chill stream. So definitely tune in then. Thanks guys for coming out. Vape on, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.